Living for a living, baby. How you doing?
Yo, 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 welcome to Living for a Living, the first episode on the road. Right now I am in Gizycko, Poland, and I had charged my computer, or so I thought I had, and I went to turn it on this morning and it wouldn't turn on. It said the battery was dead, so I think like the cold maybe is making the batteries go down. The Mac battery I have is pretty old, so maybe it's time to replace it. So I had some notes. I got some shit on Twitter too. That Twitter is basically my notepad while I'm out and about, and I think I'm just gonna tell some stories of what I've been seeing over the last 3-4 days. I left Kuopio on Thursday. Yeah, Thursday or Wednesday. I don't know. Stayed the night. I got to Estonia Friday. Yeah, so I left Wednesday. Dropped off my winter tires in Helsinki at a former coach of the Steelers, Rami, and he was a good vibe. We had a nice little chat, ended up staying at his house for that night, then took the ferry the next day, got down to Estonia, was planning on getting pretty much all the way through Estonia, but the wind was fucking crazy. The ferry is only supposed to take like 2.5 hours to get there, maybe a little less, and it ended up taking 3.5, 4 hours. And I mean, you were on it watching people walk, like, ugh. I mean, it looked like we might have been on the remake of the Titanic. And I was kind of worried for a second, but I mean, it's a pretty big ship. And so after that kind of like extended the day, and then driving in Estonia, I've been joking I'm traveling by the wind in this van of mine, but that really came true because that wind was blowing so hard. I mean, it was like driving a kite. So after about, I don't know, 2 hours or so, I said, fuck it, man. I'm stopping at the nearest kind of main city and calling it a day. And so I've ran into multiple troubles already. The learning the van life is you gotta learn as you go. And so as I showed in the van tour, I got the propane tank hooked up to the grill. The propane tank was given to me by Pekka back in Kuopio. I thought it felt heavy enough that it had some in it. Dumb me should have checked before I left. And I get midway through cooking chicken on the first night and it dies. And I'm like, ah, fuck. But it ended up kind of being a blessing in a way because I originally was planning on kind of just being a recluse, secluded, doing my own thing. But going out to eat and having to go get a coffee in the morning are kind of nice little ways to, one, start the day and get out of the van after traveling. And then two, it's like a way to meet people. And boy, have I met some people in my short trip so far. It was, yeah, man, Jesus. Let's see here. Where do we start? Like I said, I got no notes. I'm just flowing off the top of the dome, so stick with me. I have the mic set up, but it's plugged into nothing, so hopefully this audio is all right. I'm recording it on my phone. It should be all right. Technology is beautiful nowadays. But yeah, I get to Estonia, city called Pärnu, and shout out my guy Mati, who also does the website. He's Estonian. He recommended that little city, and kind of like the summer city of Estonia, from what I heard, the Miami of Estonia, if you will. And so it's cold and windy, so not too busy or anything like that. A lot of places were closed. And so as soon as my grill gave out, my propane gave out, I said, well, fuck, I need to go get some real food. And so I, Google Maps searched, found a restaurant nearby, got a chicken burger or something like that. And then I'm like thinking, okay, I'm gonna, go get a drink somewhere. And so I'm looking around, and every place I looked up, I think was a summer kind of bar on the beach, and everything was closed. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? And so then I went back to the van. I thought, all right, I'll just have an early night then. But it's like 8 o'clock at this point. And I get back to the van, and I'm kind of near the water on the beach, and it's nice and peaceful. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, I want to meet some people, or maybe not even meet, but just be around some people. That's kind of the point of traveling around, is to see how people are and all those kind of things. So I looked up on Google Maps. Okay, I got a new spot I can park closer to the city center. Go there, go into this one bar called Bam Bam or Bum Bum or something. And this place was a trip. It was like, I thought it was going to be kind of hip and cool. It had like some like disco lights, and I thought maybe in more of a ironic way. No, no, no. These disco lights were for real. And so they had some live music playing, and it was pretty much like all middle-aged people dancing, and it was interesting. And so I said, well, this ain't my spot. Look on Google Maps again. I see, okay, there's an Irish bar nearby with good Guinness on draft. And being the Irishman that I am now, I said, I'll go there. And that's something now I've realized, because thinking back to Lisbon, Barcelona, when I was in Vasa, almost anywhere I've been, if you're not sure of where to go out at night to at least get a good drink, go to an Irish bar, because typically that's where people go, and so I go to this Irish bar, sit at the bar. That's kind of a key too, is having a bar to be able to sit at, like when you're alone, because then it's just easier to mingle and all that kind of stuff. So I have a beer, then I go out, smoke a cigarette, and while I'm out there, these like three younger dudes, probably like 20, 21, are talking. One guy's talking fluent English and talking about Belgium and Brussels and yada yada. And I said, hey, I gotta interrupt. Yeah, Brussels is super cool. And somehow we get to talking, find out it's one of the guys' 21st birthdays. They're all from Porno. One kid plays like soccer for the local team, like professional team. The Belgian kid, I don't know exactly why he was there. And then the birthday boy with his mom and sister. And his mom was hot and full of attitude, and she was leading the charge. She was in control of the group, telling everybody to hurry up and fucking drink, hurry up and fucking eat. We're going here, we're going there. And so I end up tagging along with this group to the main nightclub of Porno, Estonia. And I gotta say, they get down pretty good. The DJ was killing it. I danced a little bit that night and got plenty of free drinks from the birthday crew. And it was pretty fun. It was just like, it's been a trip though, because everywhere so far, Estonia and Lithuania, Latvia was like pretty much closed. You got to show your Vax pass when you go into anywhere. And so I show mine, and it's just it's such a interesting concept to me, because here we are. I go to McDonald's one day, or one little stop, to basically just sit and charge my computer and charge my electronics, because I know that's like an easy spot to just chill and hang out. There's always outlets. And so here this like 15-year-old Estonian girl is asking me for my Vax pass, which I show her. And so now we're putting the health regulations into 15-year-old McDonald's workers. It's like, to me, that's when it's just like, okay, this is BS. This is a charade. We're acting in a theater right now. And it's whatever. It's the system. I've been reading, where is it? I've been reading this book, How I Found Freedom in an Unfree World by Harry Brown. Super old book, and highly recommend it to people. I'm only like 7-8 chapters in, but it just, one of the things they talk about in it is there's many different ways people will basically give an excuse, or there's a trap for why they don't feel free. And one of them's like because of the government or the system, the family, a bunch of different things. And in the one thing he says, with the government, like, there's always rules and there's always going to be these things in place. And whether you agree with them or not, that doesn't really matter. They're there, and they can be taken advantage of and used to your benefit. And so with all this stuff that's happening, I just, like I said, I don't really agree with it, but I'm going to just figure out my way to maneuver and make things happen how I need to make them happen. And once you like really see it for what it is, and he talks about in this book, like, being selfish, and because we're all being selfish. Everything we always ever do is in an effort to create happiness in the way that we best feel is possible, or best feel is right, or possible, that we can achieve it the most easily. And so for some people that's working and being moral and this and that, and that's going to bring happiness. And some people it's stealing and robbing, and the end goal for both people is they want to be happy. That's the end goal for all people. And we're all unique and we all have different experiences, all these kind of things. And so just the whole Vax Pass thing and seeing that, it's just like, okay, it's I can just choose, I can separate myself, or we can play ball and figure things out, you know what I'm saying? And it's just been a trip to see that. And so, all right, that's a little interlude. Getting back into the story. When I was in the Moreno Estonian club, I had a guy come up to me and say, "Aren't you the Finnish TikTok guy?" And I was like, "No fucking way!" Like, that one shocked the fuck out. I met a couple Finnish dudes in there because Finland and Estonia are, right next to each other, geographically speaking. But this dude said that because, and he's like, "Yeah, I saw you." I was like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" And that's always a trip. I didn't expect to get that little recognition over there. And then met another Finnish guy that we talked for a bit, and he was like super duper socialist. I don't know how old he was, but it just, again, like, going back to this book, and I actually want to find, I underlined and took some notes last couple weeks I've been reading it. I meant to talk about it last episode, but there's, this belief, people think that, like, the more government that we give, the more it can help solve problems and give us rights and this and that. And like, we all have, he says it in this, he's like, we're all born with the right and ability to do everything. The government in itself only limits you with what you can do. And then people use government to persuade people to live a certain way that they don't necessarily want to live by themselves. And so that's where, let me find a couple things, because I got a couple things in here that relate to the kind of hot topics that are going on right now with Corvid, of course. And I'll probably kind of talk about that, I mean, hopefully in a different way, because now I've driven through technically in my like fourth or fifth country driven through right now. And it's just interesting to see the differences. Here in Poland, they don't really give a fuck, it seems like. Lithuania, you had to show Vax Pass to get into the grocery store And then while in the grocery store, you have to wear a mask after everyone's already shown a Vax Pass to get in, which I'm going to get to that point. Well, here's one of the quotes about government before I get back to the other thing. It says, many people think things would be better if the government were only more efficient. Happily, it isn't, for collectively we are free to the extent that the government is inefficient and unable to carry out its coercive programs. And individually, you are free to the extent that you take advantage of the government's inefficiency. And boy, am I living that one right now. Let me just put it like that. I hope you can read between the lines. Where's, damn, I thought I had more notes in here. Oh, yeah, it's in I like jumped around in chapters one day. Okay. I'm going to read a page or two out of this. I don't know. I guess Aaron Rodgers is doing book club on Pat McAfee's show. And maybe I'm stealing that a little bit, but this, I don't know. This is just super applicable to what's going on in the world right now. I think it's good for me to hear, so I'm just going to read a little bit here. So, welcome to Barnes & Noble. You are responsible because you will experience the consequences of your own acts, and those consequences are the final judge of whether you've been right or wrong. They provide a verdict from which there is no appeal. The secure individual hopes somehow to bypass that verdict. The insecure individual hopes somehow to bypass that verdict. He looks for a way to believe he's right no matter what the consequences he experiences. He looks for a source of truth that he can believe in. When he finds it, he accepts it totally. He feels this gives him the security to know what he's right. And he prefers that kind of security to the need to rely upon his own ability. The philosophy he finds usually there's a typo in this book. The philosophy he finds usually contains three basic ingredients. They are moral rightness, a leader, and an enemy. These ingredients arm him with an assurance that allows him to disregard the test of consequences. The sense of moral rightness permits him to believe that he's right no matter what the consequences he receives in life. He settles for whatever happiness he gains from knowing he's adhered strictly to the code. He knows he was right in what he did, righter than his successful, wealthier, peaceful, joyous neighbor. Such a philosophy will usually have a leader to give the individual confidence that he doesn't have in himself. If questions or doubts arise, the leader can set them to rest. The insecure individual may feel, I can't tell what is right, but he says it's right, and he must know. It always seems necessary, too, for the philosophy to have an enemy. That provides a ready-made explanation for any bad consequences that may occur. Since the philosophy is usually expressed in terms of moral truths, the battle with the enemy becomes a moral one. We, the good guys, are moral, and they, the enemy, are immoral. The moralistic overtones create an evangelical fervor. The enemy isn't pictured as a group of misguided individuals who don't understand things as well as we do. Instead, they know that what they're doing, and they know that it's wrong. They're acting deliberately. They're evil. This eliminates the need for the moralist to be tolerant or understanding of anyone whose interests conflict with his. Instead, he can be aggressive, violent, nasty, vitriolic, outraged, because he's dealing with someone who is immoral and thus not deserving of benevolence. It's an ideal way to relieve the pent-up frustrations that come from having to bear the bad consequences that might come from living by the philosophy. So the insecure individual looks outside of himself for intellectual security. He hopes to find a philosophy that will guarantee him moral rightness, a leader to compensate for his lack of competence, and an enemy to justify whatever goes wrong. Unfortunately, he lives in a fool's paradise. He still has to deal with the world and with the consequences of his own actions. Meanwhile, the individual who recognizes his own sovereignty considers the consequences of his actions to be only standard of right and wrong. He knows that he's capable of seeing those consequences and reacting to them as necessary. He can change any course of action that doesn't work. He can handle change and surprise as they occur. He can deal with whatever comes. He would feel insecure only if he had to act in accordance with someone else's judgment. He would be genuinely afraid if someone else's decisions were determining his future. He knows that The future is uncertain, but he's willing to be vigilant, to check the results of his actions, and he's willing to be honest, to acknowledge any mistakes and correct them immediately. He's found the only kind of intellectual security that makes sense, reliance upon his own sovereignty. And so, I mean, you can apply that in so many different ways. And to feed onto the Corvid stuff, there's the two groups now. It's the vaccinated, unvaccinated. And throughout everything that's being played, that the vaccinated are the moral. They're the right. They're this, the leader is Fauci or whoever. And then on the flip side, then there's the enemy. And it's not that they're, even though they are misguided or misinformed, they're being portrayed to be purposely misinformed. And so then there's no sympathy or no anything. There's people saying unvaccinated people should be denied hospital procedures because they know what they're doing, and that's the risk they're willing to take. It's being compared to a lesser, a subhuman essentially. And so that it's just super interesting to see it. And you see this same kind of stuff in religions, in nations. A thing that I saw or found interesting so far now, traveling from Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland now, is every country has a group, a foreign group that they kind of blame for most of their country's problems. For example, in Finland, they'll always say that, it's the Russian and the Estonian guys that you got to watch out for. Finnish people are all good people, but it's the Russian and Estonian guys that'll steal a car or steal something or do that, or it's the immigrants that have been fucking up and having parties and continuing to push the quarantines and yada yada yada. And then you get to Estonia, and now Estonian, same kind of thing, is most Estonians are good people, but it's the Latvians that you have to watch out for, and some of the Russians as well. And that's where Latvian car stealers are much more common. And when the one guy I was with on Friday night said, it's just like when I drive through Latvia, I just kind of feel tense, and I just feel this, and same thing with Poland and da 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 da. And it's just this built-in thing of like, my nation is better, and it gives the entire group, the entire nation, a common enemy to go against. And so then I wondered, well, I didn't get to talk to anybody in Latvia, unfortunately. But when you get to Latvia, I wondered, well, who the fuck do they blame? They must, I'm guessing, I don't know this, they blame like Belarus. I don't know if they'd go Lithuania, because I think Lithuania is like a better economically speaking country, but they probably blame Belarus. Maybe Russians get blamed for everything, I've realized, on the eastern side. It's like, and so then Lithuania, I meant to ask, but because I met some cool motherfuckers in Lithuania, and I have to say Lithuania is probably the coolest kind of shitty country that I've been in, and it's such a first impression, and a big part of it is because of having to show the Vax Pass and then wear a mask inside the grocery store. That just seems fucking insane to me, and completely illogical, but what is logic these days? And so I wonder who Lithuanians blame, but same probably kind of thing. And then again, Poland, I know for a fact, like the Belarus, Russian, that's the people that get blamed. And every country, everywhere you go, has this scapegoat. In America, it's, the Mexicans are coming in and taking our jobs, or the immigrants are coming in and taking our jobs. We don't have the benefit of having to, we don't really ever blame Canada for anything, but we blame Mexico and the immigrants, for coming in and taking jobs, which the only jobs that immigrants are taking in the U.S. are ones that either Americans don't want to do, labor type of jobs, or most Americans can't do, which is science and medicine and computer IT kind of jobs. So it's always funny to me to hear, oh, the fucking immigrants are taking. It's like, motherfucker, nobody's coming over to be a plumber. Your job is good, okay? And the one interesting thing on that note also is through this whole TikTok stuff that I've done and getting some interesting responses, some less than positive comments, is one of the like most common negative comments I get on TikTok is, we don't want you here, go back to your country, from a Finnish person. And it just cracks me up when I see that, because I'm sure that same Finnish person who's commenting that in their mind thinks like, I'm so much better than the American, like Finland as a nation is so much better than the US. And I'm more tolerant and da 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 da, yeah, all those things. When ironically, go back to your country, we don't want you here, is what the most ignorant Americans say. And so it's just this weird, like, you kind of become what you put your energy towards. And so I'm sure there's like a thought in these people's heads of like, oh, the ignorant Americans, da 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 da. And then in so facto, they end up kind of becoming like that ignorant American that they're making fun of. And I've compared this same kind of thing throughout the years with Americans making fun of, not making fun of, but talking down to the Chinese and other countries for, oh, censorship and this and that and communism and blah blah blah. And look where we're headed, man. You truly become what you give your energy to. Oh, and so yeah, that it's I don't know, again, off the top. So forgive me if I bounce around and got to take a break here, but it's just been super interesting to see that kind of thing in regard, reading that passage in regards to how it relates to Corvid, religion, people of different nations, all those kind of things. And I'll tell you this, so far, I know this is this has been a theme for me throughout traveling up to this point, but it's going to just get even more reinforced on this trip. So far, people are a lot more similar than they are different. Everywhere you go, people are doing the same shit. Everywhere you go, there's somebody in a fucking hurry to go somewhere. There's some nice person. There's a cute girl, a cute guy. There's an old lady on the street. Everywhere is pretty much the fucking same. At least in like the Western world, Western culture. And it's we're fed all our differences and fed all of our problems in order to try and judge everybody, to just keep that distance apart. And it's in 1984, which is, turning into a documentary or a prediction book. Eventually, I think, traveling is going to be incredibly difficult. You're going to have your 7th booster shot. And that's not by accident. Because by traveling, by going around, by sharing a smile with a random motherfucker and seeing what random people all over the world are doing, you realize, we're all kind of the same. And when you think, we're all kind of the same, we all want the same thing, it makes the division a lot more difficult to push. So I guess that's my thoughts on that. And that's why this van is so beautiful. Right now, driving through borders of EU, there's absolutely no problem. It was kind of interesting to see the borders of Estonia to Latvia, Latvia, Lithuania, Lithuania to Poland, because there is like a border, but they're all old and unmanned. Like there's nobody working at it, but you could tell in past there had been an actual checkpoint border there. So it was kind of interesting to drive through those things. But driving right now, just right on through. No problems, no anything. There were a lot of police at the Polish border, because from what I hear, I don't have enough information and I don't have a way to fully search on it. Although I probably have a Polish guy on the podcast here in the next week or two, and maybe he can explain it better. But there's some major drama, beef thing kind of going on between Poland and Belarus right now. I guess Poland is building a wall on the Belarusian border. Took a page out of old Trump's playbook, huh? And there's a lot of, because they're trying to stop the migrants from Belarus and I'm assuming other countries to come over to Poland. And maybe an hour after I crossed the Polish border, I got a text message on my phone that said something along the lines of like, the Polish border is sealed, don't believe the authorities, turn around, go back to Minsk, and don't take any pills from the Belarusian soldiers. And random number, a Polish number sent it to me, completely random. I have no idea how they got it. It's kind of creepy, and it's in English. And Minsk is the capital of Belarus. And so I'm just like wondering what the fuck, because I have a Finnish number they sent it to. It's not like I have the Belarus or a Lithuanian number or whatever that, I'm sure they're trying to get people to go back, and I don't know, but that was just a creepy thing that happened. And I thought to myself, like, technology is an interesting thing that used in the good way is beautiful and in the bad way is terrifying. And so I just, that text message kind of still creeps me out a little bit, but there were quite a few police on the Polish border. And then the best thing ever was maybe 30 minutes or so, or on just a two-way highway, and people start flashing their lights at you. And I sometimes don't know. I think the electricity in the van isn't great, and so sometimes my one headlight is out, and so I think maybe they're telling me that. I don't know, but I'll slow down, making sure not like I can go that fast in this thing. Although I've been driving, I thought when I was in Finland, this bad boy would only go about 80. I can almost hit 100 right now. I don't know if it's the tailwinds or what, but anyway, I'm driving, the people flashing their lights for a while, so I'd slow it down to 60, which is speed limit. And then sure enough, at one point, a real like sneaky spot, there's like 3 cops set up for a speed trap. And man, do I love alerting people and then being alerted of a speed trap, so you get to just drive by the cops 5 miles an hour under the speed limit, like, fucker, and that's brilliant. That's just brilliant. And that kind of falls in line with that quote of, you can be as effective as the government is by taking advantage of the inefficiencies. And so that's people all working together, helping each other out. It's like, man, it's a beautiful thing. You don't know this person who's flashing their lights at you. You don't know the person you're doing it to, yet we're helping each other out. And that's I don't know. I like that kind of shit. The other thing, speaking of highways and driving and all that stuff, is I noticed that kind of the shittier the country, or, the lower quality of life, I'm just going to say, when I say shitty, I don't want someone to get mad over this. Oh, heavens forbid. The shittier the country, the more risky people are on 2-lane highways for passing. I mean, Estonia, Estonian drivers were crazy. Latvian drivers also. Lithuania got a little bit better. And I think Poland is kind of crazy too. But we'll see. But the interesting thing that was different in Latvia compared to everywhere else is they'd have this 2-lane highway that was really like a 3-lane because it was. Let me see here. Shit. Okay, I got this. So it was basically like, here's the center line, and then they had another line, the outside line, all of them are dotted, and then the pavement went to like right here. I don't know if we can see that. Okay, so 3 dotteds, and so everyone's normally driving like this, but then if someone was going to pass, you'd kind of drive over here, or if someone was passing on this side, you could drive over here. So then this like lane became the middle passing lane. So at times you're literally, I'm driving right here, someone else is passing here, and then someone else is driving like there too. And that was interesting. Never seen that one before. And then the nice thing that Latvians would do while driving is if you kind of pulled over for them so they could pass you, once they passed you, they'd hit you with a little emergency light flash as like a little thank you. And I thought that was fucking sweet. You know, thank you is a good thing to say. You know, it's no matter where you're traveling, I'd say always try and learn thank you in the language that you are. Although, speaking of that, I didn't learn it for Estonian or Latvia. But in Lithuanian, it's ačiū, which is very easy to remember because it's basically like you're sneezing. And it was nice then to get back to Poland because all my little Polish that I've remembered throughout the years and learned kind of was coming back and being dziękuję, dzień dobry. And actually, last night when I parked here, I park in this parking lot, and a dude on a bicycle rides right up next to me. And, you know, I don't know where I am. It kind of always a little bit on guard, you feel me? And he comes up, older guy, and I roll down my window. He starts talking to me in Polish, and I say, I'm sorry, I don't speak Polish. And he like just kind of keeps going, and he's trying to tell me like my back running light is out. And so he has his bike, and it's like if he makes it go, the he has like a red light on the back, it will light up. So he points at it and he's like, no. And but before that, I was like, przepraszam, nie mówię po polsku. So I'm sorry, I don't speak Polish. And I say it pretty good because I've had to say it a lot throughout the years of living in Poland. And he looks, he goes, mówiłaś po polsku. Like, no, you speak Polish. I was like, nah, bro, I'm sorry, I don't. And so we probably talked for, he was trying to talk to me, and I'm just looking at him like, dude, I'm sorry, you know. Or first then he said the thing about the tail light, and I know one word in Polish is I know, wiem. I go, wiem, wiem. Look, and so now he like thinks I know some Polish, you know. And so he's just going at me. I'm looking at him like, nie wiem, I don't know. I'm sorry, you know, I'm sorry. And so this dude, and he's probably in his 50s, he pulls out his phone, gets Google Translator out, talks into Google Translator, and then shows it to me. And we had a conversation for probably 10, 15 minutes strictly through Google Translate. He had his phone, I had my phone, and I fucking love that shit. You know, he asked, "Oh, are you on vacation?" And I explained, "I'm driving through, and what do I do?" And I used to live in Gdynia, and blah, blah, blah. And he asked me how, he asked me if it gets cold at night in the van. I said, yeah. He goes, you have some kind of heating? I said, no, I have good blankets and drink good beer before. And he thought that was pretty funny. This dude thought I was fucking crazy, for sure. But by the end, he said, okay, he messages something that says, I forgot I left my garage door open, so I need to go home. I said, all right, brother. Thank you. Have a good day. Good to talk to you. Marek was his name. Good old Bike Marek. So those are the funny, and it was just funny because I was, like I said, a little bit on edge, like a little, because shit, man, I'm by myself out in the middle of nowhere. You gotta, I don't know if I don't know. So at first I was kind of like, okay, but then by the end, like here we are shaking hands, and he's probably telling this story to his friend right now. So that's a beautiful thing about traveling, and I love the Google Translate conversations. When I was in Czech Republic, my center for football didn't speak any English, and we spent a whole day together, went to Prague, went go-karting, did all kinds of things, which shit, I vlogged that. I still haven't made that video. That video would be fucking good. Vlogging, vlogging right now is a tough thing to do. When you're driving, navigating, having to charge everything, vlogging is tough. So I don't know how well I'm going to be able to vlog this trip. That might be my next trip around. I do the vlog. I'd like to, again, like I said before, the whole concept of living for a living. If I'm vlogging the whole fucking time, I don't feel sometimes like I'm living. And so kind of finding that happy medium. I think this podcast is a cool way to do it. And maybe filming some shit while I'm just out and about, and then overlaying it while I talk about these stories could be a idea that I do. But I don't know. And so, where was I? The Marek bicycle vlogging. Oh yeah, I had the vlog with me and my center, Peter, and we spent a whole day together, and the only way we talked to each other was through translator app. And that's where technology can be beautiful, man, and can really connect us. That's a situation where me and this dude last night, no way in hell we'd ever be able to have a conversation, but through this damn telephone we were. And that's beautiful to me. And um yeah, that was super cool. And so what have I not talked about now? Lithuania. I I don't know what I like it. I'm a big fan of Lithuania. I'm excited to revisit there someday and maybe really explore more. And so I was driving through Lithuania, and I started to get dark. I'm trying not to drive it in the dark too much. It just not doesn't feel good. You can't see anything either. That's kind of the nice part about driving. You get to see the scenery and see the country. So it was starting to get dark. I look on Google, I see, okay, where's the nearest kind of main city? So I see this city of Parevj, Parshavishish. I don't remember how to say it. I couldn't say it after the guy told me 7 times, so I'm not going to be able to say it now. So I stopped there. Again, go into Lidl, the grocery store there, Vax Pass and masked up. It's like, what the fuck are we doing? And then again, search Google Maps. Where am I going to eat? And I'm getting pretty good at this point in my life of figuring out where the good spot is, how to look at the reviews, how to see what the good spot is. And there was a place called Old Spunkna Pub, and it had good reviews, had a lot of reviews. And so I said, all right, that's my spot. I saw there was like a parking thing nearby. I have another app called Park for the Night that's like a kind of Google Maps, like Yelp, but for parking spaces in the world. And so I see, okay, I can go there. So I stop, pull in there, get a parking spot literally 100 meters from the front door of it. Walk in, it's super busy. I sit at the bar and start talking with the guy who works there, ask him how to pronounce the city, yada, yada, yada. you know, we have some good little conversation. At a certain point, three Asian dudes come up next to me and order food in English. And I'm like, huh. You don't see a lot of Asian dudes in like Eastern Europe or Finland, you know, like there's not a ton of, you know, it's the you see more Asian guys I think in Portugal and maybe Spain and France, Germany, I'm not sure, but the more east you get, the less Asian dudes you normally see. And I was pretty sure these dudes were Japanese just from like hearing the language. And so I asked the guy, I said, "Hey, what's up, bro? Where are you from?" "Oh, I'm from Japan." "And what are you doing here?" He goes, "Oh, I play football." And he means soccer, and he's a professional soccer player here in Lithuania. I said, "Oh, fuck, cool, man." And so we end up talking for a while he's waiting for his food. We exchange Instagrams. And I was like, "Damn, that's a good little vibe, you know?" And then a couple other people came up and ordered English, and I looked at the dude and I was like, is there normally this many English speakers here?" He's like, "No." He's like, "This is kind of random." I was like, "Okay, cool." And at one point, this dude, and I'm like I'm at the bar right next to where someone would have to order anything. So everyone who in the bar has to come like next to me. And this one dude comes up and super tatted neck, some face tats, all those things, some good tattoos. I said, "Hey, bro, I like your tattoos." And he seemed like a character himself, you know, just bullshitting and talking with everybody in the bar. And he, "Oh, thanks, man. I'm a tattoo artist." So again, exchange Instagrams. "Nice to meet you." Blah blah blah. And um, throughout the night, you know, I'm staying there now. I've eaten. I've had a couple beers. I'm talking with the three dudes who work there, and the tattooed guy Z. He goes, "Hey, bro, do you have any of your brand here?" Because we'd followed each other then on Instagram. I said, "I just have some like, I just have stuff I wore." He's like, "I want to buy something." And I was like, "Oh, well," I go, I can't, I don't have anything new." And he's like, "I want a beanie." I said, "I just have a beanie I've been wearing, if, you know, but," and, you know, he was kind of like, eh. And so I said, "It's all good." I go, "If you order something online, I'll give you a discount." And, "Okay, I just wanted it now." I said, "Yeah, okay." And by the end of the night, I was like, "Fuck it. This dude seems cool. I'm gonna go out to my car. I get the beanie and I just give it to him because, hey, you gotta spread the spread the seeds one way or another, you know." And he was super cool, good dude, and he was stoked on that. And he ended up buying me, you know, a couple beers or whatever, and putting it on his story. And like the one guy who worked at the bar, who ends up I find out is like the owner and the founder of the bar. He's also like the main cook. Was saying like, "Dude, you of all people to give something to for some free marketing, you picked the right fucking guy." And you know, I figured same kind of thing. Here's a tattoo artist. If he wears it, there'll be a conversation piece constantly. You know, the the true way to spread anything in a brand, a product, anything is word of mouth because people believe someone else in person that they trust and admire, look up to, whatever, so much more than they will a commercial or, you know, I guess it goes for celebrities and shit like that too. And it felt good to give it. And so by this time now, I'm a little drunk. It's probably like almost midnight or whatever, and I'm making friends with everybody. And now at this point, I become friends with the dude who owns the bar. It's a guy named Dom, and we get to talking about the building and bar is like 100 years old. They used to come here before they owned it, and this was like the main spot that they grew up coming, so it had a ton of sentimental value that the bar did. And I was like, "Man," he's like, "You don't realize this, but of all the places to come in this town, you came to the right spot. Like this is like the local spot where people are super cool and friendly and open and welcoming." And I was like, "Shit, Google Maps is a great thing." And so we got to talking, and my favorite thing ever happened, and this has happened to me a few times now, is towards closing, it was like 1 or 2, they shut down, lock all the doors, shut the windows, and then the few kind of local regulars all get to stay in, drink beer, and smoke cigarettes at the bar. And that feels fucking great. You know, it feels like you're truly in a 90s movie. And so we're trying the different beers, and come to find out that the girl that was working there is his girl, and her dad owns a brewery in Lithuania, or is like the brewmaster at a brewery called Delipius. I forget. So I mean, we're by the end of the night, it's like 3-4 a.m. We're all fucked up. This one dude who's like, I don't know if it wasn't all connected up there or whatever, and he comes up to me in the bar. I forgot about this. And he comes up to me as I'm talking to somebody, and he just taps me on the shoulder, and he shows me a picture of my van that he'd taken out there. And he goes, "Is this your van?" I laughed. I said, "Yeah, bro." It's like, oh, very nice, very nice. And I come to find out that this guy's name was like Itzve or Izvis or something, which translates to echo. And I don't know if this is on purpose, if this is a nickname or whatever, but there's a reason this motherfucker's name was Echo. Because you had to repeat everything you fucking said to this guy like 7 times. He probably asked me what my name was 7 different times. And supposedly, I heard he has, you know, he's a normal guy, normal life, but then when he comes to that bar, it's just like, gets fucked up and like retarded, basically. But he was good soul, good dude. Little weird, but it's all good. And then, man, there are just so many weird little caveats to this shit. The guy I was sitting next to at the bar is probably like 70 or 80, old time kind of guy. And he's sitting there. He knows everybody that comes in, and they all kind of say hi to him. And he kind of looks a little off himself a teeny bit. And towards the end of the night, I kind of look up on the wall, and there's a painting of this dude in like kind of like olden clothes, like old time medieval type of clothes or something like that. And I was like, I look at the bartender, I said, "Hey, that picture's of that guy." I think he was out smoking a cigarette, so he wasn't there. And he goes, "Yeah." And I was like, "Damn." He's like, he's a good customer. He's been coming here before we owned it. He's always been coming here. I said, "Damn." So I asked him if I could take a picture of like him in front of his own picture, which has happened one other time in Thailand. Now that I think about it, this big fat Thai guy had his own picture on the bar wall. And he told me no, but I guess he just didn't understand me, because I explained that to the owner after he had left and after we were closed up. He's like, "Really?" He said no. He's like, he just didn't understand what you meant. He's like, he for sure would say yeah. He's like, "Don't worry, I'll take a picture of him. I'll send it to you. You can say it's your picture." So I'm waiting on that picture. You'll have to see that on Instagram, because that'll be a good one. Hopefully by the time I post this, I'll have it, but I might not, so I don't know. So like I said, a lot of characters at this bar, and they ended up giving me a little sample pack of that brewery, which, what is the name of it? I would like to plug them a little bit. See if I can search while I'm doing this. Is this still recording? Okay, good. Dundulis beer. And I had like 3 or 4 of them on tap there. It was fucking good. And now I got a nice little sample pack. So it's just good to, good to have friends in different places. And I think maybe when I return through Lithuania, I'd like to maybe get the Dom guy or Z maybe both on the podcast. Tattoo artist, bar owner. That's something I'm slowly trying to navigate of who I want to have on as guests is just different people from different places that do different things, but all seem pretty excited about what they're doing, living for a living. Because I think it'd be really cool then for the audience, the listeners, of course, hear my thoughts of shit. I'm gonna ramble, talk to myself, regardless. But then to hear a Finnish brew guy, a Lithuanian bar owner, Polish this, Spanish that, German the, and again, with the goal of just bringing it to the conclusion of like, well, they're all kind of the same. Yeah, maybe some different ideas, different thoughts, but no matter where they're from, all kind of the same at the end of the day. So I'll be passing through there. I have to pass through there on my way back to Kuopio in the winter or in February. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. But man, what a night. That night turned out to be fucking wonderful. That was probably one of my, I don't know, top 10 nights I've had traveling, just from those connections made. And the fucking best part, well, one of the best parts, another guy who was sitting at the bar, local kind of guy, he's probably in like 40s, 50s, and he didn't speak that good of English. I was super surprised in a way of how great the English was of Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. In my mind, for some reason, I didn't think it was going to be very good. Because in Poland, it's like pretty good amongst young people. But like over 30, over 40, it's like nothing. But in Latvia, especially, they're like a couple places, the gas stations that I stopped, older lady, I mean, fluent, and maybe she just knew the couple little words and phrases, but I mean, fluent. And so that was cool. And that's Latvia. The reason I didn't stop there was they're on like lockdown. They have a curfew at 8 p.m. now. Everything's closed besides like essential stores. And it just, again, getting back into it, I know, it's just so weird to me that depending on what country, and it's the exact same in the United States, that you can be in Washington, all these strict rules, vax pass, da 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 da. Go over to Idaho, and you can be on the border, cross an invisible line, and it's open and free. Florida, completely open and free, which also have some of the lowest numbers in the, if not the lowest, but that's not right. That's not part of the narrative. And so it's just interesting because these three, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, are all small countries that you drive through in like 3-4 hours. And so just the differences, and that's what's so weird and makes me wonder, if this shit was really that serious, there would be a definitive way to handle it. That it wouldn't be that some countries do this and some countries do that and some are locked down and some aren't and some have this and some have that. If it was really the fucking pandemic that is killing everyone, there would be a definitive way that people think like, okay, this is the best way to handle it. And so just the idea that it changes everywhere is so fucking strange to me. But what I was going to say was I'm sitting at the bar in Lithuania with this dude, and he doesn't speak very good English. He's like for 40 or 50 years old, and we're barely having conversation. He was one of the guys who stayed after the bar was closed too. And by the end, we're both telling each other jokes, and we have the owner of the bar who he lived in England for like 5 or 6 years, he said. So he's completely fluent, translating back and forth. And so here he's telling me jokes in Lithuanian, and then gets translated, and then here I am telling him jokes in English, and it's getting translated to Lithuanian. And I just forgot it, how like fun jokes were. Jokes, like long jokes where a story, an anecdote, story joke, because my dad grew up telling them. And he'd tell the same fucking, you get 3 or 4 jokes in your repertoire, and you perfect them. And this guy, same kind of thing. You could tell he had a few jokes, and my dad would be, Dad, you'd be very happy to know I told the ice fishing joke, and I told the mic joke, and I fucked up on the ice fishing joke, which maybe that's what we'll have to do. Tell a joke episode or something. I fucked that one up, so it didn't get too good a laugh. And the mic joke's just so fucking stupid that it got a little laugh. But the ones that this guy told, let me see here if I can remember them. Okay, yeah, he said they're all like little sneaky ones that just kind of sneak up on you. And so he said, this guy gets in a car crash and then has to go into the coma. And he's sitting in the coma, and then when he wakes up, his wife is there, right by the bedside. And he says to her, honey, you've always been by my side. When I lost the house, you were there. When I was coming up struggling, before I made my money, you were there. When I went bankrupt, you were there. You've always been right there by my side. When my parents passed away, you were there for me. He said, I'm just starting, and now I get into this predicament, a coma, and I wake up and you're right here. And I just get to thinking, you might be bad luck. Maybe it's you. He liked that one pretty good. Well, his other one was, he was like a dumb blonde joke. And he's like, do you guys have dumb blonde jokes? I said, yeah, of course. I think we all do. And so he goes, okay, well, yeah. So there's a blonde mom, and she has a daughter that's 14 or 15 years old, and she's talking with her friend one day at like a coffee kind of gossip little session, and one day she says, I found a half-drinking bottle of alcohol under her bed yesterday. I'm scared she's drinking, And the friend said, yeah, well, yeah, kids do it. The next week they meet up, and she said, it's getting even worse. I found a bag of weed that was half smoked, or weed. Now I'm fucking jokes up. Found a pack of cigarettes, half smoked. So I think she's smoking cigarettes. So, well, kids are going to be kids and blah, blah, blah. And third week comes up. She says, no, you're not going to believe this. I don't know. I found condoms under her bed, and there was only 2 left out of the pack. I'm worried she has a dick. How fucking pathetic am I, sitting here laughing at jokes told to myself in a van. Oh my god. What was there? One more? I thought there was one more, but there was one about like chickens or something that wasn't very good. It was stupid and it was long, but it wasn't very good. I'll tell if I don't learn any more jokes this next week. I'll tell one of Bill's jokes next week. I don't think we need to do 3 jokes right now. But yeah, here we are in Poland today. Once I finish recording this, I'll drive to Gdansk, in Gdynia, where I used to live. See my boy Kuba, Henny, whoever else. I'm about 3 hours away right now. Had a nice little morning, went to a cafe, walked around. I'm kind of at this like beach it's like a lake beach area, vacation area. And so we'll set up shop and then head on to Poland. Yeah. I got a couple more things from this book, and I'm gonna just try and share some passages too, just that speak to me. This book is awesome. I sometimes I feel like I've read it already. Just the way it's written, it's like how I think a lot of the time. So I'll finish it off with a quote from How I Found Freedom in an Unfree World. It says, "The insecure person hangs on desperately to whatever exists in the present. The secure person accepts and enjoys whatever he has in the present. But as change occurs, he feels no fear of the future. He knows that change are only preludes to better things." And that's where we will end it today. Alrighty? Until next time, peace and much love. Holla!
Tell me, baby.
Yeah.
What's that story? Cause I've been thinking about you lately.
Yeah, come on.
Tell me, darling.
What else?
You're a star girl.
What else?
How the fuck do you not know the deal?
What else?
I've been thinking about you lately. And
What
it's
else?
got me going crazy.
What else?
I'm playing for you, baby.
What else?
Listen up. Got me thinking about you, baby. And it's happening all the time. So I'm playing for you, darling. Now listen up.
Listen up.